And welcome back to the Vancouver Actors Podcast. I am one of the co-hosts, Michael Coleman.
And I'm the other co-host, Sidney Quesnelle.
Woo! She's back. Today, we are going to talk about how to write your own movies. So we're going to give you a structure. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to wreck movies.
Yes, so if you like watching movies and not being spoiled of the ending, don't watch this.
Because this is going to wreck everything, but also empower you like never before. So this is going to show you the traditional structure that many of the movies that have been made over the decades, using the same format and the same structure they've used, the same traditional 3-act structure. So we're going to walk through that today. But before we do, we want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor, weaudition.com. So if you're looking for a professional reader on call, these people can help you with your self-tapes and make sure everything looks and sounds 110%. So every opportunity is the one that might be the one. So if you use, Vancouver Actors. Vancouver Actors is the special rate. You get 25% off. And also if you're looking to perhaps even create a little bit of revenue and you yourself are a good actor and you're looking to find an additional revenue stream, which we highly recommend, you might submit to weaudition.com and let them know you're available to be a reader.
And being a reader, you just get more of a chance of playing characters that you might not play otherwise. You might get to be an old man if you're like a young woman, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of like you get to do way more auditions than you're already doing.
100%. And you know what? This is one of these crafts where the more you do it, in the old days we said you never turn down stage time. Mm-hmm. And it's the same idea in the new days. Just don't turn down stage time. As many opportunities as you get to work your craft, to perform. I had the benefit, I worked as a reader for a couple of years, and honestly, I would say my audition skills quadrupled in value when I saw what everybody else was doing, and I was just auditioning all day, every day, on the wrong side of the camera, of course. But it gave me a different level of confidence and a different level of understanding and comprehension of the casting room. I think you've done some reading as well, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? And so it gives you...
For a couple casting directors in town.
Yeah. So it just gives you a different perspective in terms of what people are looking for. But now, you know what? Let's jump right into our structuring your film. So a lot of actors... are happy to work, not happy, they're thrilled to work in the mainstream stuff. We talk about it all the time. There's, we're really fortunate here in Vancouver that we have some of the biggest TV shows, movies, video games, cartoons in the world here. But some of us don't want our entire careers to be about waiting for the phone call or checking our email every morning to see if somebody's going to invite us into their world. We want to create our own worlds and create our own luck. Yeah? Yeah,
totally. And also want to say that this video is also going to be great for if you're not ready to write a film because you're like, oh, I'm not a great writer. Even then, as an actor, you're going to start learning the different structure and seeing, oh, my sides are from page 45, and you can think back to this and what's happening during page 45 and where does this fit in the story. You'll get a better understanding for every audition you have.
100%. That's brilliant. Yeah. An actor has one job, and that's serve the story. So the more you understand everybody else's paradigm, the more you understand what a director does, what a writer does, what a producer does, the more you understand everybody's different role, the better you're going to be able to do your role. So when you understand what we're going to show you here today in a basic 3-act structure, you're going to see what often a writer will spend months or even years trying to craft a scientific mathematical model for this, and you'll have a better comprehension of, oh, this is page 75, or oh, this is page 30. This is probably the moment where this is happening. And if you have that opportunity, and I know we're being incredibly vague here, but we don't want to spoil the goodness, it'll give you a better understanding of how to serve that story when you understand how that scene is serving the overarching story in its totality.
So. And for those of you that are listening, we'll try to be very clear about what we're writing down, but maybe if you were not so clear, come back and check the whiteboard at the end of the video.
Brilliant, yeah. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Anchor or Apple or any of the other platforms that we're on, we also do recommend, this is a really good episode, to check us out on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Give us a big thumbs up.
I've always wanted to say that. I've never said it. Subscribe to our channel.
Great.
Yeah, was that good?
Yeah, I think
that was so nerdy. Sorry. Okay, I just waited my whole life for
Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash the like button. I love it. Smash it. Beat it. Don't just smash.
Just
I got violent for a minute. Just smash the like button. So what we're going to walk through here is we're going to walk through a basic 3-act structure and what an incredible writing teacher named Blake Snyder would refer to as the 15 beats. So this is an idea that you can also get a little bit further information from a book called Save the Cat. It was written by a marvelous man named Blake Snyder. I had the privilege and honor to meet him and have really, really cool conversations with him. As a matter of fact, he unfortunately passed far too soon. We've named one of our studios here at Story Institute after Blake, with his mother's blessing, of course. And the reason I've sold TV shows and movies is because of Blake Snyder. With this system, this is why I don't just get a chance to make movies, I get a chance to sell them, which I think is really cool. Because I think a lot of us, we get into this mindset of, I want to just create my own work and I want somebody to see it. And then we never think about, well, how do you get it distributed or how do you monetize it or things like that. But I think it's really important that we do that from the early stages.
For those of you that are still in the early stages of just like being on student films, even there, know that from people that we've talked to that are even on the biggest shows here or in the biggest films here, all they're talking about is how badly they wish they could just make their own stuff. So if they had this knowledge,
for sure.
then
We're not going to say his name, but we got a very dear friend who's on the CW, who's got a very high profile role in a very high profile show, and he's really focused on creating his own work. It's a recurring theme. I worked on a show called Once Upon a Time for a couple of years, and most of my castmates are all out there trying to create their own work, still working in the mainstream stuff. But it's something that doesn't matter if you're brand new or a seasoned veteran. A lot of us want to be able to create our own work, and if you want to create your own work that has an opportunity for distribution, you want to create your own work so it has an opportunity for all these different platforms, the OTTs, the different subscription channels. Everybody's looking for content, but what hasn't changed is we're still looking for good content, and we're still looking for content that is familiar to the people making the purchases. So the formula we're going to lay out today, you don't have to color by numbers. You don't have to go to the second or to the minute of what we're explaining. But this is a roadmap that if you use this as the spine and as the bones of what you're doing, you'll have a better than average chance of getting your project distributed and seen, and perhaps even create a little bit of a return on your investment.
And while I'm still in the beginning stages of this, because I haven't fully written out a full feature film, I've done now probably about 8 of these, just writing down the beats of ideas and writing down the cards. So I just have my stacks of cards from these beats that now anytime I feel like or have time to write, I can just start pulling them off the shelf and writing just that beat section as well. So it's also a huge time saver. If you don't know where to start, pick a card.
So I'm going to start here. So again, Sidney's not wrong. If you're listening to this, we highly recommend you check out the YouTube channel, but we will play-by-play this so that you get an idea of what we're doing. So a basic 3-act structure looks kind of like this witch's hat. And some of you may recognize this from your earlier days in elementary school, or if they still teach that. I hope to heck they still teach that. So basically, this is your first act, or the old world. This is your second act, or the world upside down. And this is your third act. So one way that this can be referred to is this is your thesis, or the world as we know it. And if we don't have change, it equals death. And it doesn't have to mean literal death, but it can be the death of an idea, death of purpose, death of it means that you're not going to be able to grow and become the full person. Yeah, you'd be stagnant. So stasis equals death. This is your thesis, or the old world. Okay. And then this would be called your antithesis, or your antithesis. And this is this world upside down. So this is, a really easy one to reference would be the movie Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey. In the beginning, he couldn't tell the truth, and then he couldn't lie. And that's the first 2 acts of the movie. And then the third part of the movie is synthesis, or balance. And that's effectively a combination of these 2 worlds. And the idea is that sometimes it's okay to have small white lies. In fact, sometimes it's probably kind to do it. And often it's not. But it's finding the right time or the right balance. And this is how most films work. So
and a very oversimplified version of this is the improv game Once Upon a Time, which is once upon a time there was a blank. And every day this blank did blank. Until one day this happens, and because of that, and because of that, and because of that, until finally, results.
100%, 100%. So hopefully, this is resonating with some of the stuff you've already learned from other scene study classes or acting classes, improv classes, because the idea and the science and the math behind how we process stories is pretty universal. So we're going to write some numbers up on the board here, and we're going to say the numbers out loud. It's important to note that it is pretty traditional for 1 minute to equal 1 page in film and television. So if you see 1 minute, it usually means 1 page. That's in a properly formatted...
Which is roughly 250 words.
Perfect. Brilliant. I had no idea.
I found that out yesterday because I have a script writing project to do.
I love it. That's brilliant. I love that I know that now. Now, if you were to do other formats like sitcom, you're going to do like a 2-act structure. You're going to maybe have different spacing, so a minute's not going to equal a page. You probably aren't going to have the same details in terms of action lines. There'll be a little bit more dialogue. So some of the formatting can shift when you get into sitcom writing or other forums or movies of the week or things like that.
Where like the 5-act structure.
100%. It can shift. But this is a really good way to understand story in terms of feature film. It's a good way to understand story in terms...
Sorry, viewers.
There we go. Sympathy is good. This is a great way to understand film and to also understand that while we're going to give you a traditional 110-page script, if you turned this into an 11-page script, just downsize everything crunch it by 90% or whatever the math is. So we're not going to put this in any particular order because a movie can be written with any of these 15 points as your starting point. Okay, but I'm going to start at the very beginning here in minute 1. Okay, in minute 1, this is called your opening image. And what your opening image should do is tell us the time, the place, and the tone. The time, the place, and the tone is something we should know in the first minute of your film.
Like Star Wars.
Star Wars. When does it happen?
A long, long time ago.
Yeah, and where?
A galaxy far, far away.
Exactly. And then the next image we see is a giant intergalactic space cruiser chasing down a tiny little spaceship for the good guys. And we see that it's going to be an epic space battle. And we get the tone, we get the time, we get the place. We get the time and the place because they literally say it. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they don't even take the time to say, well, let's milk our way into this for 30, 45 seconds. They just tell you right out the gate before you even see a spaceship. So that's how we do this. Time, tone, and place. On that note, what we should do is let's jump over to here.
Whoa. There's a chair here. Gonna move that.
So our 15th beat in writing one of these movies will be the closing image. And the closing image should be your theme realized, and it should be the polar opposite of this. So another great example would be the movie Wedding Crashers, for those of you who have seen it. The movie Wedding Crashers starts out with... why am I forgetting? Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are mediating a divorce, talking about how stupid marriage is. And weddings are great, but marriage is stupid. And that's the whole beginning. That's the tone. The time, the place is today. It's, East Coast America, but it really speaks to all of it. And that's where they start out. The last image is we see those two guys literally driving off into the sunset to get married with the girls of their dreams. So this is how we might see a polar opposite of the two ideas.
Shows growth.
Shows growth. Now, the next thing I would say is minute 5 is your theme stated. Now, basically, this is
what you came here to see. Like, I watched the trailer. Why is this movie not about this? Oh, it is, because now it's set in the 5th minute.
That's exactly it. And often a character will literally say what the movie is about. They will literally have a line in there tell you what the movie's about. So this is the central question or the thematic statement. This is either what you're asking the universe or declaring to the universe.
Like Baby Driver. He can't drive without his music. It's shown in the 5th minute. Can't drive without his music. We got a big car chase for all those who came just for car chases. Then you find out that he's not actually a bad guy and he just drives them.
100%. So this is a chance to understand what are we going to say. So this year I wrote a film that was released back in January called 3017. And the film is about a bunch of 37-year-olds who go back to high school and do it for one more month. They want one more month with what they know now and see if they would do things differently to either relive their glory days or do it right for the first time. But basically what the theme is, so as much as that feels like it's a movie just for 37-year-olds, the thematic question would be, if you knew then what you know now, would things be different? And what's great about that universal theme or that universal question is that applies to everybody. My 5-year-old once came home from kindergarten saying, oh my gosh, I didn't think life would be like this. I wish I could just go back to preschool. And it was like, what would you do differently? Yeah. So it's like even my 5-year-old has moments of, oh, if I only knew then what I know now, it would be so different.
Which I will also say, having this is great and having this in mind, but I would say starting here and knowing your why you're telling it and why people will care and what theme you're actually trying to
100%.
say, or what the question is as well that you're trying to answer with it is so important. Otherwise, this is going to be all jumbled up. You can't change this. You need to know what it is.
100%. This is where every movie or TV show idea I've ever had starts here at page 5. I start every movie on page 5. I start with, what am I asking the world or what am I telling the world? So you can ask simple questions like, if you're having a hard time figuring out what kind of movies you want to tell, it might be, how much money would it literally cost to get away with murder? Then this should be an essay on how it costs exactly $13.12 if you do it right, or whatever the case may be. But find your question or find your statement and make the declaration or the question here.
And if this is like a good enough theme statement, in the way of saying good enough, I mean, it means so much to you that you now know your why and why you're telling the story, then everything else will start falling into place. I won't say who it's been, but I've talked to multiple people when they try to make their own stuff, and I'm like, okay, why are we doing this? Oh, to make footage, to make a movie, to have fun. Cool, but you need a bigger why, you need a bigger theme statement of why you're doing it.
100%. Like if you don't know why, if you don't know what question you're asking or what statement you're making, it's going to be hard to sell your movie and it's going to be hard to get it distributed. You need to know what you're asking or what you're telling the universe, and that's got to be where you start.
Like people kind of push away passion projects as kind of like it's not a big deal, but you should be passionate. Everything should be a passion project.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, I agree. Everything we do should be a passion project, and we should never allow ourselves to get away with something just because we're the ones responsible for it. As a matter of fact, we should be more attentive to making sure we hit all the right beats when we're in charge of it, because we're declaring we're going to dedicate an enormous amount of our time, of our personal value into something like this. And I think it's really important that we do it the right way. Mm-hmm. So the next beat I would say is this, 10 minutes into the film. Now the thing with the 10 is it's actually a beat that encompasses everything from here to here. Everything in the first 10 minutes should introduce everybody in our A story. All the good guys, all the bad guys, they're going to be primary factors into our A story, and it should set up our universe in our heroes' major paradigms or environments or universes, which would traditionally be home, work, and play, and sometimes you may add like spirituality or community or things like that might be your fourth universe you live in. But we want to know
actors, this is your large principal roles. This is your principal roles. This might not be your actor roles, just for reference of auditioning.
100%. So in this one here, so let's say in the first 10 minutes, like again, we'll go back to Jim Carrey and Liar, Liar. What we were introduced in the first 10 minutes is, how does lying affect him at work? How does lying affect him with his friends or his relationships? And how does lying affect him at home? So we learn that the lying is hurting all of his major universes or paradigms. So it's important to note that. And this is what we get done in the first 10 pages. And this can be 2 or 3 scenes. And again, it's trying to figure out, how does our thesis or our old world affect us at home, work, and play? Next up is minute 12. This is often referred to as the catalyst or the inciting incident. And basically what it is it's an invitation for the hero to join the story. So like in The Matrix, for example, this is when Neo would have been introduced to Trinity, and she would have invited him to seek a deeper truth or to follow the white rabbit. And this is the invitation. So now in The Matrix, Keanu Reeves has been officially invited. Do you want to consider going on this journey? Do you want to go on this journey? That's the question that'll happen here at minute 12.
Also, if you haven't noticed, this is going to be a long one. So strap in, maybe watch it in 2 parts.
For sure.
But you can't learn how to write a movie in less than 30 minutes. It's just not quite doable if you're going to do it right.
100%. So this next part is the debate. So it's no fun if the answer is, should I do it? heck yeah, let's do it. Let's jump all over this. So what we need to see, because again, remembering this movie, this question or this statement should be effectively like an essay as to why we believe something or why we question something. So this would be referred to as our debate.
Like, bring it on. Missy couldn't be on a gymnastics team because she moved from LA. There was no gymnastics team there. She tries out for cheerleading. She gets on the team, and then she's like, I'm not a cheerleader. I'm a punk. Then she debates it until she finally decides to give it a try.
That's exactly it. So here we take the invitation and we debate it at home, work, and play. And like Sidney said, about 25 minutes in or 25 pages in, we make the choice to go on the journey. So I challenge you, find any movie and write this down. Look up Save the Cat, the 15 Beats from Blake Snyder and watch any movie. You'll know what's going to happen well in advance. And when you learn this, you'll know most movies by around here. Like here, I knew Kevin Spacey was the bad guy in Usual Suspects 5 minutes in. It was the only person it could be. It's the only person it could be. So once you learn this formula, this is what we mean, it'll wreck movies. Because you'll be 5 minutes in and you'll know exactly what everybody's going to do, why they're going to do it, and you're going to have a pretty good idea about how and all the other fun stuff.
Or if you're academic like me and Michael as well, you'll get more excited because you're like, oh, how are they going to do the 25-minute beat now?
100%.
Like it's just kind of a weirder look at movies.
I would also say one of my favorite things about when I see a movie and I'm so engrossed in the movie that I forget to clock the minutes and suddenly the movie's over. I'm like, that totally caught me off guard. I didn't even do all the math and the science that I normally do.
Yeah.
That's when I know I'm really into a movie.
Like Knives Out, I guessed it from here. And I was like, oh man, because it's such a good movie, but
100%.
It's right here.
So let's go to the next. So here, I want to be very clear that in the traditional 3-act hero's journey, the hero must choose to join the story. Don't have it be something that accidentally happens. Don't make it convenient. They have to actively choose. They have to make the choice that, yes, I want a different world. I want out of my thesis. I want out of the old world. I'm going to make an active choice to do something different.
Harry Goes to Hogwarts. 25 minutes in.
That's exactly it. I felt like you were saying that was like a name of, I was like, I don't remember that one. I was like, oh, Harry Potter.
Sorry, yeah, Harry Potter Goes to Hogwarts.
Sometimes known as Harry Goes to Hogwarts, the original working title. I was totally thrown. Okay, no, it totally makes sense. That's me. That's not her.
I was
That's
like,
me.
you know Harry Potter. Why are you looking at me like this?
I know. I lost it for a minute. Okay, so what we've just done is we've just done 25 minutes of the A story. So I don't care how good your story is, the audience needs a break. They need a breath. So you've got your hero, and what we do is page 30, we create a B story. And page 30 or 30 minutes in, what the B story is a chance now to see how does the hero feel about the A story? How do they feel about what's happening here? A great example would be like in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So Luke Skywalker wants to feel significant, feel super insignificant. Then he finds out he's Space Jesus. And then he's like, oh man, now I gotta go kill like the hardest guy to kill in the whole known universe. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's really, it's crazy when you're 19 or whatever he was at the time. And he's like, I just wish I lived a life of importance. And you're like, okay, how about Space Jesus? And it's like, whoa, way too important. So what we now need to feel or see is how do you feel about it? Or in Good Will Hunting, this would be like when we meet Minnie Driver or when we meet Robin Williams' character, is a chance to start exploring how does it feel to be a genius when all you want to do is just be a regular dude and go do construction with the Afflecks. That's a thing. But we get to see how people feel about the A story. And what will generally happen now for the rest of the movie is we'll basically do an A scene, a B scene, an A scene, a B scene. And there might be other stories as well. We might have a C plot or a D plot or things like that. But basically what we've now done is given ourselves permission to not just live on the A story. And we can see how the hero feels about being a genius, being Space Jesus, dealing with this problem, dealing with this burden, finding out with great power comes great responsibility.
And
okay,
how
Spider-Man.
all these people feel about it too.
For
and
sure.
how it affects their life at work, play,
At home, all the paradigms. So now this, between pages 30 and 55, is referred to as either the promise of the premise or the fun in the games. This is where 90% of your movie trailer is made out of. And basically what happens here is after we've met the B story, which is either like a mentor or a best friend or a love interest, somebody that the A story can reflect on a more intimate level. As soon as we meet them, now we want to get into what the movie's about. So I'll give you a great example. A great example is the movie Step Brothers with John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell. Step Brothers follows this format almost to the letter, but it's 120 minutes, not 110 minutes. And the reason it's 120 minutes is they added 10 more minutes here because this is what people came to see.
They came to see Will Ferrell being a little...
Yeah, they wanted to see two grown men try to share their toys, build bunk beds, get along, all those sorts of stuff. So they actually just extended this part of the movie, and that's literally what they did. So the fun of the game, or the promise of the premise, is basically, again, so this would be, okay, so John C. Reilly and his mom move in with Will Ferrell and his dad. Now we go into the fun and games, and we get to see how they have to fight over toys, how they have to try to get along, how they have to share their parents, and how they have to build bunk beds together, all these fun things.
Note as well, like how we said for a short film to shorten it, if you watch all the Harry Potter movies, I don't know if you know this, it's actually 220 minutes long, each of the Harry Potter movies. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
So they just doubled everything.
Some of you might know it as Harry Goes to Hogwarts. So if we've lost you in the podcast, that's Harry Goes to Hogwarts. Also a fantastic magical series.
Written by Emma Watson.
Yes. Okay, so we're now halfway through. So this first act is about 25 minutes. This part of the second act is about 30 minutes. And then we hit this. That's the peak. So this is the climax, or the midpoint, or the point of no return, or the false victory, or the false defeat. There's so many names for it, so many names. But basically what happens here is, traditionally in many movies, this will be like the point of no return. As soon as we hit here, this way of life is no longer possible. We could never go back to this. We've seen too much. We've done too much. Now we can only go forward. We either have to live in this world or create a third option, which is ideally the synthesis.
Pacific Rim, when they think they've beaten all the aliens. And then there's more aliens.
Then there's more aliens, which is exactly what this is going to jump into. So this is a false victory. So we've defeated the aliens. Yay! Then what happens from page 55 to 75, it's often referred to as the bad guys close in. So what happens here is you thought you won, and then it turns out, there's more bad guys. They got bigger guns. They got bigger friends. Now my friends are mad at me. So much is going wrong.
This is also Mean Girls. I want my pink shirt back. That moment, that's then. When she says, you're a mean girl, Caddy. That is that moment.
This is where this is the hardest thing to write, because you're going to spend the first 55 minutes of this movie treating it like it's your baby and, oh, hey, how's it going, hero? You having a good time? And then you're just going to just go hard on that baby, and that poor baby.
For listeners, we started punching the baby.
We started punching the baby. Don't punch babies at home. That was improv. That was improvised. Yeah. And just air babies. 55 to 75 is your bad guys close in. And this is, again, if you want to write a great movie, if you just want to write a good movie, do as many bad things to your hero as you can. It's the hardest thing to do. Make their friends hate them. The bad guys got bigger guns. The bad guys got bigger goons. There were more bad guys. There were bad guys you didn't even know existed or now popping up out of nowhere. Make it so hard that it feels like, oh my gosh, there's no way we can win. Great. Because while this was the false victory at 55, this should be a false defeat at 75. So now it should feel like, oh man, there's no way we can win. This is called All Is Lost, or the Whiff of Death. So 75 minutes into most films you watch, either a person or an idea will die or almost die. Little Miss Sunshine, it's Grandpa. Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. Mimi in Rent, Mick in the old Rocky films. This is a recurring thing. 75 minutes in, somebody will die or almost die, or an idea will die or almost die. That's why I call it the all is lost moment. It's the polar opposite of this. You'll notice moment 1 was the opposite of moment 110. Moment 55 is the opposite of 75. So there's a lot of math in here. So we're hoping that you see the math, because before you sit down and start writing your movies on a dark and stormy night this happened, don't write your movies. write out your 15 different beats first. Start with that. So 75 minutes is the all is lost moment. And that's tough. So all is lost is tough and it's scary and you've done all these bad things to your hero. Just when it couldn't get any worse, it does. So from 75 to 85, we call this the dark night of the soul. So everybody hates you. Bad guys got bigger guns. Your friends hate you. What's worse, now you hate you. Even you don't like you. Even you don't think you can do it. There's no way you can pull this off. What are you, some kind of a hero? I hope so. So 75 to 85 is going to be your dark night of the soul. And this is where we start figuring out, oh my gosh, what are we made out of? Again, I'm going to go back to Wedding Crashers. This is when Owen Wilson starts crashing funerals and getting drunk at weddings and all these other sorts of things. And he suddenly just becomes an absolute nightmare. He literally comes from here in this movement where he starts reading books about taking his own life and things like that. Like if you go back and watch these movies, it's very literal with what these writers have done. And if you want to get your movies made, I encourage you to at least reflect on some of the things that everybody else has done, and all of us have used these same scientific mathematical points to sell our movies. So before you try to reinvent the wheel, sell one with the wheels that have already been invented.
To comment on this as well, I know a lot of people for Harry Goes to Hogwarts, the last one.
Yes.
A lot of people complain about how they changed it in the way of how Ron was such a dick to Harry, and everyone hated that change, but because that wasn't in the book, because it didn't have to be in a book. But in a movie, you need to have this section to make Harry really feel like crap. And so that's why it was in the movie.
100%. So this is the way we are conditioned to understand our human experience and understand our hero's journey. This is how we've been telling it forever. So 85 minutes in, at the end of the Dark Night of the Soul, this is our emotional low point, just when life couldn't get any worse. But this isn't just like a movie thing, this is a life thing. So this has always been our goal for our hero. And this is where the hero has to abandon what they want for what they need. When the hero can abandon what they want for what they need, then their goal is accessible. To hopefully illustrate this a little better, I'll use like a classic sort of device that gangster movies use. So gangster movies are usually about somebody wanting to be respected. They want all the respect in the world. So the goal is, I want ultimate respect. And the way they want that respect is everybody to be so fearful, everybody's so afraid that they respect them. But we all know as a society that fear never creates respect. Respect creates respect. So if a gangster movie really wanted to have growth and have a hero that didn't die in a pile of cocaine at the end, I would recommend find out how to respect others or respect yourself. And then, you're going to have the ending that you deserve, because that's what we have to do. And often a hero will say it. Sometimes it's the B story if they're not dead yet. They will say literally, you have to stop wanting this and go after the thing you need so the goal is possible.
I would say even that your Mean Girl caddy could be actually here instead.
Potentially, yeah. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I'd have to go back and see it.
I thought you were going to say you haven't seen it, and I was like, whoa, we're pausing the podcast.
Come on now. Mean Girls, come on. Don't even go here. So the last part is the final act. So the final act, before we get to the closing image, is generally done in 5 parts. So basically what we want to do is we want to gather the troops. We want to get everybody back on board. So we're getting our friends together. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to come up with a plan, and we're going to win the day. And then the second part would be storm the castle. And that's everybody's running at the castle. We're going to slay the dragon. We're going to do the bad thing or whatever it is. But then what often will happen is what's referred to as a high tower surprise. And the high tower surprise is, oh my gosh, I didn't know they had dragons, literal dragons. That's going to make it a problem. So
Pick Up Destiny. Do you know what I'm talking about, Pick Up Destiny?
No.
It's where Jack Black somehow manages to get Satan to have a riff off with him.
Oh, that's trouble.
Yeah.
That's trouble.
So that's Pick Up Destiny. Satan.
Yeah, I wouldn't fight Satan.
No.
So your third part is your high tower surprise. So we've stormed the castle, we've come up with a plan, and then this part here is after the high tower surprise, we regroup and we decide on a new thing. Generally, what we'll do here is we'll probably take our combined lessons that all the heroes have, and we'll use that to defeat the dragon. So if we were to use a Care Bear analogy, all the Care Bears would expose their bellies at the same time, and we would Care Bear stare together, and then we would collectively have our final battle. And our final battle will leave us a result, positive or negative, that allows us to be a polar opposite of this.
This is where I will say to not Pacific Rim it, because in Pacific Rim, the way they did it was just like sword. You want to have something organic from over here
Absolutely.
That works into here. You can't just pull things out of nowhere. You need to have it make sense. Otherwise, it'll become a running joke from your fans, like Pacific Rim.
100%. So this goes back to, if you want to make a movie that's really basic and simple, it's an essay. Start thinking of your movies as an essay. What do you want to ask the world, or what do you want to tell the world? It can be simple things like the grass is always greener on the other side. Be careful what you wish for. There's a lot of general statements or questions you can make that will help become catalysts for movies. And then you think of, well, what's my cool spin on that? And if you follow this, and like Sidney said, if you use the opportunity to incorporate as many of these other earlier seeds that you plant, you have opportunities to pay them off later.
And also, just on that, I know that a quote that you say a lot, Michael, is make sure that your first film doesn't have to be your best film, and your best film shouldn't be your first film. But that's also with even your breakdowns. I wouldn't do one breakdown and immediately write that into your best film.
Agreed.
You should write probably like 10 breakdowns, so you really understand how you're breaking it down and how you would put little snippets in it. And then by the time you're on your like 20th breakdown, your first feature film that you've written is going to be already better than your first one would have been.
100%. I've been doing these breakdowns for decades now, at least 1 decade, and then a little bit. And I still have just as much fun sitting in a coffee shop and writing as many 15 beats out as I can for as many stories as I can. And 90% of the movies I come up with are stupid. Anybody who's seen my movies might suggest 100% of them are stupid, but who cares? I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to the other people. Sorry, that was really catty. This is
you
what
can listen to if you want to.
Yeah. The idea here is create the science and the math involved in successful movies that are historically been used over and over and over again. Other writers use this habitually. Make this your habit. Make this your story. And again, if it's only an 11-minute movie, well, then just cut everything by 90%. I think that math is right. I think
it kind of goes down to before you can be everything to everyone, you got to be something to someone.
100%.
Like, you're not going to be Tarantino. I'm sorry, film graduates, you're not going to be Tarantino right off the hop. You need to make, quote unquote, crappy movies before you can make your big ones. So get really familiar with this theme, and then you can start playing with it. It's all about knowing the rules before you break the rules. You can't break the rules if you've never known the rules.
I agree 100%. Make every movie you make your best movie today, but never make it your best movie ever. Hopefully your best movie ever is always the one in front of you. If your best movie is always the one in front of you, you're always going to get better each and every time. You're going to find different ways to be smarter, more connected, and there's lots of different ways that we can tell our stories, from learning from others and learning from our own successes and opportunities for correction.
Well, even like from an art standpoint, here's some art history for you. Michelangelo, he only signed one of his works when he thought that was going to be the best work he'd ever made. It had a lot of critiques on it, and he suddenly realized that was not the best work he was ever going to make, and then he decided he was only going to sign his best work. He ended up not signing any work after that, but it just shows that don't kind of put all your eggs in one basket and let yourself continue growing. Obviously,
100%. And that was like well before he even knew he was going to be a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. Not to confuse Michelangelo with Michelangelo.
Same guy. I don't care what you say. Same guy. So this is how we do. We break it down. Our thesis, old world; antithesis or antithesis, this world turned upside down; synthesis, a balance between the two worlds. This is about 25 minutes. First half of this is about 30, this is about 30, and this is also about 25 minutes. So again, you can make your movies or your shorts or your series whatever length you want to, but this is how a traditional 3-act structure works. Now, on a separate podcast, we're going to blow all this up and say, all of this is lies and untrue. And we're going to say, because it's a whole different thing. We're really lucky. We have a woman named Kim Hudson, who's on our program advisory committee, and she's created something called the Virgin's Promise, which is the feminine version of storytelling, where this is the masculine version of storytelling. We're not going to tell you much more than it flips this upside down, and this is bulletproof, and this is amazing, and it works great. But so does the Virgin's Promise. So we'll do that on a separate one. Maybe we'll even bring Kim in to do it herself, because she'll do her own whiteboard version of this.
And I want to have a social media challenge for our followers and listeners.
All right.
If you want to do this journey and give it a shot, obviously don't show us your super cool ideas, but tag us in a post of your different cards and with all your numbers on the back of them. And tag us so that we can share it that you are now following this journey.
Yeah, 100%. And if any of you guys are making your own projects, or a lot of you guys might be thinking about joining film competitions, or you're gearing up to just create your own work, let us know. Reach out to us. You can contact our producer, Lydia Rimmer, at storyinstitute.ca. So that's LYDIARIMMER at storyinstitute.ca. Lydia Rimmer, the producer. Amazing human being. Amazing. We'll get her on camera one day. One day we'll get her on camera. We'll get her flossing or some sort of TikTok thing. You guys are going to love her.
And so if you don't quite get this, make sure you write a comment down below, because I know that we had one comment asking us another thing.
So let's
answer that.
Let's answer the comment. So we have let's respond to viewer mail. Viewer mail. We should get a song.
That's going to be a soundbite.
We should get.
Viewer mail.
Viewer mail.
You got that? You're going to do that, Lydia? Great. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Put some music behind that, and let's really make that pop.
Yeah. Maybe like a guitar riff would be great.
Anyways,
all right. From Never Even Heard of It, they asked if we could please cover some of the things about the Vancouver market. What I'm assuming what they mean by this is, what are the differences from Vancouver market to, say, Los Angeles, Atlanta, et cetera, et cetera. Everywhere has their own little, again, pizzazz, as I said in a previous episode.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. And I think a lot of people are looking for that competitive edge in terms of, every one of you that's an actor runs a small business. And I think it would be naive not to understand what the market trends are for your business. So a few things that I would say are prevalent that have happened over the last several years is we've become a mainstay for CW's created a lot of different series here. Hallmark's been a big part of what we're doing. We're getting a lot of bigger feature films,
which is a bit more edgier.
Sure, and then we just finished doing. Chris Pratt was here doing the latest dinosaur movie. Dinosaurs Go to Hogwarts, I believe, was the working title.
I also know that for a long time, it's been a lot of. Vancouver has been a lot of day players, or roles where, like our friend Tassia, where you book it and it seems like it could be just a 1 episode, 2 episode thing, but then that's when we show that we're really good, and then you get invited like Tassia and do a bunch of different episodes of your series, and you continue on as a series regular. But that's usually where Vancouver has been, but now thanks to COVID, they're looking for a lot more, especially in pilot season right now, they're looking for a lot more lead roles and actually really looking at Vancouver talent pool. Because I've even helped coach a couple auditions here where they've been told they must be Vancouver because they realize they don't have enough time now to quarantine them. And these are big roles that people are getting more opportunities to actually audition for.
Yeah, I would say one of the interesting things about the market right now, one of the trends is that because of just the fiscal elements of bringing somebody up and quarantining them and having them here for 14 days, and if they got a quarantine on the other side and the testing and everything, it's financially, it makes more sense to give Canadian or Vancouver-based actors a different opportunity. So this is literally the moment most of us have been waiting for.
And on that, Angela Quinn casting, if you go on her Facebook page, a lot of the movies of the week that she's casting is casting fully out of Kelowna or Vancouver, if you say you're a Kelowna local. That's also fine. But just know that you have to pay for your stay if you're going to be a local somewhere.
That was very gangster. And she did this because if you do this on a podcast, the authorities can't hear it.
You can't hear it. You can legally do this. It's fine. As long as you're a BC taxpayer, they just want the tax credit of being a BC taxpayer. Anywho, they're also doing open casting calls on her Facebook page. So if you don't have an agent yet, this is a great way to get seen, potentially get a credit, and get an agent from that credit. And for those, you can also, when you're auditioning, get a reader from weaudition.com.
Vancouver Actors is the special rate. You get 25% off, and we highly recommend that. So on that note, this is a big chance. This is the one that a lot of you have been waiting for. So my advice would always be treat every audition like it's the big one, and one day it will be. And literally, like never before in the history of this city, we're seeing opportunities to create lead roles and regular roles for our local talent, but it's not like the bar has been lowered. So I think a lot of us still really want it to be me. This would be the time where I would encourage you, don't just take a deep breath and sigh and hope you've got what it takes. Make sure you've got what it takes. Sharpen your saw. Be better than you've ever been in the history of your life as an actor, because your opportunities are just bigger.
And really stay in your own lane right now. I think that's something really hard to think about, especially with so many Vancouver actors being like, I have an audition, I have an audition, I have an audition. Just remember, like, you don't know what they're auditioning for. You don't know why they were called in, why you weren't called in. Just take a breath, log off Instagram, and just breathe and know that if you do all of this work, it will happen.
Yeah, so that's a little extra taste based on our question. Please send your questions again to Lydia Rimmer, Lyy, because where else are you going to go? LYDIARIMMER at storyinstitute.ca. If you have any questions about this 3-act structure, the 15 beats, what do you do next? How do you turn these 15 beats into 40 scene cards? That could be a whole other conversation or podcast in itself. Also, if you have any additional questions like we had from our dear friend here who wanted to know a little bit more about the current trends and ideas that are happening in Vancouver, we are happy to answer them live on the podcast.
And let us know what you thought about this length of this video. And let us know if you like the longer ones, do you like the shorter ones? Hit us up, because we're still in our very beginning stages.
Yeah, hit us up or we'll be more invisible babies. We will not do that. That would be so wrong.
Being babies.
We will not do that ever again. That was first and last time. So
the podcast does not endorse shooting up babies.
We definitely do not. So thank you so much for watching or listening, however you found us today. Hopefully this gives you a little bit more insight into what you can do to create your own work. If you did nothing more than use this map, I guarantee your next film is probably better than your last one. And again, that's all you ever need to do is just make sure this one's better than the last one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.